cars remind me to appreciate the days I don't have to.
Kathy, thank you for being here. This is a real pleasure for me because I've been watching you for a long time, and I think that you are one of the best actresses of our generation, without a doubt. I mean, just without a doubt. And I have always, whenever I see your name, whenever I always like watch if I can. You know, it's a lot easier to watch things now than it used to be.
Yes, it is.
You know, so I just wanted to thank you so much for being here. You're very, very talented, and I want to get into. I'm not very good at introductions, but I'll just let.
That was a good one. I like that one.
Well, my audience should know that
Thank
you've
you
won
very
like
much.
numerous Emmys. You've won like Obie Awards, which I had to look up and even figure. I didn't even know what an Obie Award was, so I kind of had to figure that out. What are the foreign awards, Jim? The Golden Globe Awards, acting.
I got the first ever Screen Actors Guild Award for a female because I don't even know when Screen Actors Guild began giving awards. It must have been in the mid 90s. And so I was nominated for the very first one. We were in some big like a sound stage. It was pretty it was pretty
You got nominated, did you win?
I won
Both.
that one.
For 4? Well, you remember?
4.
Well, that was Picket Fences also.
Yeah, right,
cool.
right.
Yeah.
The David Kelly series.
Yeah, so that's
right?
that's
Yeah.
a
Wow.
good what do you call it? When you play. Sorry, I feel embarrassed now.
No, that's okay.
I knew I was going to forget words.
It
That's
happens
okay.
to him all the time. Don't worry.
It really happens.
You
to
know,
me.
when you're playing that game at the bar and you have to know obscure things. It's
Trivia.
Trivia. Oh, jeez. Can we do take 2 on that one?
That's why Jim's here.
I would come up with that one.
That's why
yeah.
Jim's here. He finishes all my sentences. Believe me, I'm the
I
same
need
way.
a Jim. Okay, so that's a good trivia question. Like, who won the first Screen Actors Guild Award?
Well,
for
now
a
everybody
woman?
knows. So
Darn! I was just going to do trivia night tonight.
one of the the most interesting fact about you as an actress, as I saw it, is you got a kind of a pretty late start. You're not one of those people that started acting when they were 14 or 12 or 8. You have a massive amount of work and good work, and working with like incredible people, from Michael Caine to De Niro to Ed Harris to like it goes.
Pacino. I know. I'm so lucky.
Tony Mangala,
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
That's just, I know.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
But it seems to me that when it seems to me like the beginnings for you seem to be like when you met Sam Shepard.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Were you in New York, like looking to do theater at the? No, tell me about that, because didn't you go overseas to be or to be a cook or?
I know. That's okay. I'll start from the beginning. Okay. When you say I started late, I actually did theater since I was 10.
Okay.
So to me, I started when I was 10.
Okay.
So, but we're talking the Albuquerque Children's Theater, where I grew up.
You grew up in Albuquerque?
In Albuquerque.
Right.
And then I did all the plays in high school, and then I did the plays in college. But and I always thought that I would, get married and have kids and do theater in a church basement. I thought that would be me. And then I had a sad love affair, and I had to escape it, and I went away to France for 2 years. That delayed things a little bit.
Right.
Oh, and then before that, I was with this person from whom I was running away, and I got a degree in French at Berkeley. So, I had a different start. But then once I got to San Francisco in 1980, I did 10 plays in 3 years. I did The Right Stuff, which was my first movie.
Yes.
I did 3 of Sam Shepard's plays, and the last one, Fool for Love, went to New York and went, phew, it just went crazy.
So you started doing all of your work in San Francisco?
San Francisco at the Magic Theater.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
but I was 30. You're right. I was 30. I did not have the ingenue film experience.
Right. And The Right Stuff was was The Right Stuff one of your very first credits?
My very first film ever.
Oh, it was.
I got my SAG card.
Oh, on The Right
The
Stuff.
Right
And how
Stuff.
did you get your SAG? I mean, how come did he see
you know
you
Phil
on?
Kaufman from San Francisco or something? Is that how you?
I went to a
Got in the movie?
huge cattle call.
You did.
I was, as I said, doing lots of theater in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And we all had an agent. I'm making quotation marks
Yeah.
in the air
Yeah,
because
people are going to watch this, so that's okay. I do the same thing too, and I always say I'm making quotation marks. They'll
and I
Air
went to
quotes.
this air quotes.
Yeah.
Oh dear, you don't say quotation marks anymore.
You can say air
Aye,
quotes.
yeah.
a lot of things you don't say anymore.
And I'll bet you know them all, Michael.
Well,
Those are the words you remember. Yeah. The ones you can't
I'm
say.
so glad you do that too, because it's terrible when you can't think of a word.
yeah.
Anyway, I remember it was somebody was called every 15 minutes, and it was in Coppola's building. I don't know if people know San Francisco, but there's a beautiful building shaped like what's it called? That building,
The American Zoetrope?
It's like a
Zoetrope,
like a
yeah.
flat-iron, isn't it called the
Yeah,
Flatiron
yeah.
building? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could see on the call sheet it was people every 15 minutes, and who was our amazing casting director? Because he's the only casting director whose name I actually knew. I mean, he was sort of a famous casting director, and I went in and I read for him, and I looked up, and he just sort of looked at me, and he said, "I'm going to put you in this movie."
Really?
But I thought they said that to everybody, and I didn't. When I got there, when I got the job and I got on the set of The Right Stuff, I didn't know. I mean, I had a trailer, for heaven's sakes. I had.
Wow.
Somebody asked me if I wanted a coffee, and I said, "Oh, that's okay. You don't have to wait on me." And his face just fell because that was his job. He was probably.
You started off in a trailer, not a honey wagon?
Oh, okay. All right, you got me.
No, I don't. I'm not trying to get you, but usually we all start in that little rat hole.
Yes, no, you were absolutely right. I believe it didn't even have a bathroom. It was even worse than than a honey wagon. It was just it had 4 walls and a roof. And
Was it For the Right Stuff? Or
For the
this-
Right Stuff.
Yeah,
It was For the Right Stuff.
Okay. Where did you shoot that?
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
And Scott Glenn was my husband.
Yeah.
And I had just seen, help me out, everybody, Urban Cowboy.
Urban Cowboy.
Whoa.
With John
yeah.
Travolta.
And
yeah.
so I was like, oh my God,
Oh,
the
yeah,
guy
no,
who
he
swallowed
looks-
the worm in the,
Yeah,
in
he
the
looked-
tequila bottle
Yeah.
is my husband.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I actually met, and I'll think of her name, who's the casting director for that. Oh, no, that was for a different role. But anyway, he got it. Scott Glenn got it. It was for a different role, though. So let me ask you about.
I think I got off track. I think you asked me something.
Well,
and
no. I was basically just
I went-
wanting. I just wanted to kind of find out about New York, and
Well,
were
New York
you-
was
you-
because of Fool for Love. So I'm in San Francisco doing plays.
with Ed Harris.
No, I had never met Ed before.
Okay.
No, but Sam, I did 3 of Sam's plays, so he knew me, And he said to me one day on the set of The Right Stuff, because we were both in The Right Stuff.
Yes, of course.
So on the set of The Right Stuff, I think at lunch or something, he said, I got a script I'd love you to read. And, are you kidding?
Right.
I mean.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I'm just going to. And in those days, how did he send it to me or whatever? He might have dropped it off in my mailbox or something. And, oh my gosh, I read it. I was just, and then I got to the end. I have a beautiful monologue at the end. I mean, beautiful. And it's a killer role. It's just me and Eddie just going at it. But I didn't know Eddie. I didn't know Ed Harris, but I knew. Did I know of him?
I've known Ed for a while,
Have
and he's
you?
not a friend of mine, but I've never called him Eddie before.
Oh.
I don't know if he would allow me to call him Eddie, but I'm sure you could call him anything you wanted. But anyway.
And I have. No.
Had
you seen much of him? Did you ever work? You never had any scenes together in The Right Stuff, did you?
Me and Ed, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I was one of the wives, and I remember a scene when.
So in those goop scenes.
So the astronauts were up on the stage, and the wives were down below clapping and looking lovingly
He played
at
John
our.
Glenn, right? He played
Yeah.
John Glenn?
He played John Glenn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
when I said I'd never met him before, what am I talking about? We were in The Right Stuff together, but not really.
Yeah.
I didn't really know him. I didn't call him Eddie then.
so when did you start calling him Eddie?
Well, when we started doing Fool for Love.
Right. So did Sam Sam directed it, correct?
He did.
So did he know Ed? Had they worked together?
Oh yeah, he had seen him in a production of True West.
Oh, True West.
Yeah, down here. When I say down here, because we were up there in San Francisco, some theater down here. Was it South Coast Rep? I'm not sure. Eddie did True West.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
But do you know the play at all, True West? Because
I know
there's
about
the buttoned up brother and the crazy brother.
Yes.
And he actually played the buttoned up brother.
Really?
But then there's a switch at the end. The buttoned up brother becomes the crazy one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sam he
Philip
flipped out
Seymour
over that.
Hoffman. Philip Seymour
Yes.
Hoffman and John C. Reilly played that play on Broadway, and they would switch parts.
Yes.
And one would do one role one night, or I don't think switch nights or weeks or whatever, but they would alternate the roles because it's basically a two-man play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Josh from Grindhouse.
Brolin.
I think Josh Brolin might have also worked with Philip on that play. Either he was or he worked around that, because Josh and I did a movie called Grindhouse together for Robert Rodriguez, and neither one of our careers was going very far at that moment. And his took off after that, but we used to just make fun of each other and our careers and things like that. So when you do a play like that, how long do you? First of all, they always talk about being out of town and doing all your for Broadway, doing all your rehearsals out of town, and then you bring it to Broadway and you work on it as you're kind of out of town, and then you bring it to Broadway. When you're doing an off-Broadway show, is it the same situation? What and is it?
No, it wasn't. We did it at the Magic Theater for I think 6 weeks. That's the normal run. It was just one of the plays in the year of in the schedule of the Magic Theater that year, and it was pretty successful. Although the reviews in New York were just crazy good, and the ones in San Francisco were kind of like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. That thing of you're never a prophet in your own land.
Yes.
Probably a misquote. I mean, no, I know it's a misquote, but they were blasé about Sam, and they loved Ed because they'd never seen him before. But anyway, the point of what I'm saying, what I'm babbling, is we did a run. somebody from the Circle Rep Theater in New York must have seen it, or Sam might have said, "Hey, I want to take this to New York," and so I don't know how it happened, but we went to New York.
Right.
And then I did it for almost a year.
You did it for a year with Eddie?
No, Eddie. They're not going to live that
It's going to be a running joke now through the entire. Because if you work with Ed,
guess
some
what
other
I call Robert De Niro.
Bobby.
Yes.
Yes, well.
You're not gonna tease me about that one. You call him Bobby too?
I do not call him Bobby. But Robert De Niro was somebody that was, for me, Taxi Driver was the greatest movie I'd ever seen, and maybe to this point, it's hard to when you get the Godfathers and Fluke, it's hard. But I grew up and just absolutely loving him. But and I'll just tell the story again because I've told it before, but I'll tell you the story. So okay. I'm in New York, and I'm doing a movie called The Fan with Lauren Bacall and Maureen Stapleton and Hector Elizondo, some really good people. I was a very young man. I was about 21, and I played the fan, and I was a man who was stalking this Broadway actress. And I was staying at the Mayflower Hotel.
Of course.
Right. And I went to dinner one night with it was either my girlfriend or wife at the time. And we're having dinner, and I look over.
She was your fiance. You got married after you got back from doing that movie.
Thank you, Jim.
That's why I'm here.
That's why. Thank you very much. She was my fiance. That's right. Yeah, that's so I'm having dinner with my fiance, and I look up, and there's Robert De Niro on the other side of the. What year would this have been, Jim?
This is 80. This was in the spring of 80.
Okay, so what would he have done at this point?
God, he's probably doing something like Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah, but he would have already done.
What would he have already done?
Oh, he would have done Raging Bull.
Yeah,
he would have done Taxi Driver. He would have done Godfather 2.
Okay.
Mean Streets.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Deer Hunter.
Deer Hunter had already been out.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway,
he was Robert De Niro.
Yeah, he was Robert De Niro. Right? Very impressed by him, and so I was like to my wife, my fiance, it's Robert De Niro over there. It's Robert De Niro. Can't believe it's Robert De Niro. Wow, this is crazy. It's Robert De Niro, and I'm having dinner, and at one point I'm. I want to look at him because he's Robert De Niro, and I'm starstruck. And I look up, and he's like,
to you?
To me.
He's beckoning you
to me,
over?
yeah.
Not your fiance, are you sure? Oh no! I ruined the story. I ruined the story.
You didn't ruin the story. You just know him so well.
That's Bobby.
That's Bobby. Yeah, he basically pointed at me.
Yeah.
And said,
"Come here." Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my, what, honey? Oh my God, De Niro wants me to go over there." So I get up and I'm walking over, and like all the thoughts going through my head is like Robert De Niro, like maybe there's a part, there's like oh my God, just Robert De Niro. Hi, my name's Michael Biehn, Mr. De Niro. So nice to meet you. So fantastic. And he says, let me ask you a question. I can't do impressions, but let me ask you a question. That girl you're sitting with, is that your sister?
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He did.
Wow.
And I said, no, that's my fiance. Yeah. And he said, oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. Thank you.
Oh my God.
And I was dismissed. But still, I was very excited about the whole thing.
Right.
And she was, when I told her,
she
was
must have been
she was very excited. Well, we ended up we ended up somehow, because he was around the Mayflower a lot. I think he had a suite or something in the Mayflower. So we ended up being around him a little bit, and we ended up setting him up with one of my fiance's friends in New York City,
really?
and they went out, and that didn't go very well. So. But anyway, that's well. When did you first meet De Niro?
When I auditioned for Jacknife.
Okay.
I auditioned over 8 months. I auditioned 5 separate times. He just could not make up his mind.
He being Robert?
Bobby. Robert De Niro.
8 months.
8 months. And
the
director, David.
I got his name here.
Okay.
Give me a second here.
He had seen Fool for Love with me and Ed. And he took us out for drinks after. And he said, I've got this movie I want you guys to do. And so Bobby agreed to Ed right away. But for my part, he auditioned every single actress in the world 1,000,000 times. Well,
David Jones, is that?
David Jones. I'm so sorry,
so
David
that's
Jones.
okay.
Sorry, your last name. What a doll. What a love.
Well, that...
He's no longer with us, so I'm especially sorry.
You know, I looked up
his name.
another guy that you had worked with, and he is still with us, but he's 92.
Is that Chet?
I think it was
Street
Cold
Smart.
Mountain or... anyway, I'll get there.
Okay.
So, where did you shoot that, Jacknife?
Oh, Jacknife. We shot that in Connecticut, and is that the only place? Did we do Montreal too? No. I guess Connecticut. Yeah.
Connecticut,
Yeah.
and so Ed was always sort of cast. He was
Yes.
always going to do it, and you had to go back for audition after audition after audition.
And there was finally a callback with I think 5 or 6 of us.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
Well, that
the director wanted me too, so that probably really helped my case.
you remember his name?
The director, yeah, David Jones. God bless him. God bless him.
Well, listen, that
was amazing.
That
I didn't know him. I didn't know Bobby. I mean, I didn't. We just read together. We didn't talk. I mean, he was very nice, but we didn't like hang out. But then on the set, he hangs out and he plays practical jokes.
really.
Yeah, really.
Really?
Yes, he does.
Really. I've always, I've always heard, because I've never worked with him, I've always heard that, that he was, and I guess we're all pretty serious about what we do, but a little bit more, what was Jim, what was the movie he did with Charles Grodin?
Oh, that was great.
Oh,
Yeah,
Midnight
funny
Run.
movie.
Midnight Run.
Midnight
Run. I
yeah.
love that movie. I watch it all the time.
I know, it's a great
love
movie.
it.
I know.
And I think Bob is so funny.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's
so
fantastic.
funny. Found his funny bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the first one, Jim, that he found his funny bone on? Because that.
Well, he made King of Comedy before.
Well, that didn't. No, that.
I'm
but
not
that
sure
was,
that was. I wouldn't call that a funny bone.
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
No.
That was painful.
But somewhere along the, so you hear all these stories. So I heard that he would always make Charles Grodin like be handcuffed to him, like on the set. You know,
Really?
because
Oh.
hey, this is me hearing this from somebody who heard it from somebody else and everything. And I,
He was very casual, very just funny. He would pull his chair up next to mine, and we would chat. And he was chatty. He was much more chatty than I expected, and he did joke around too. But he was chatty in a, how do I say this? He was chatty almost. Well, he was chatty like a shy person. That's what he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we sort of warmed up together, he he was chatty, but I think he's more shy.
I
He asked me to be in the next one with Robert De Niro and Uma Thurman and Bill
Murray.
And it was called
It was a crazy Mad Dog and
Mad
Glory.
Dog and Glory.
yeah.
Yeah.
David Caruso was in that too,
Yes,
if I'm not
he
mistaken.
asked me to be in that movie. He called me and asked me to be in it. Bob did. I'm saying.
Well, let me ask you a question about. Let me
He's
ask you.
friendly.
Let me ask you a question about that. That relationship that you have in the movie is, you guys are. First of all, I just want to say that your transformation in that movie from being emotionally unavailable, I would say, and frightened a little bit of any kind of emotional connection with a man, it seemed to me, to where you ended up with De Niro's character in the movie was flawless.
Oh,
It was so beautiful. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, the kind of more cartoon version of it was Rocky's girlfriend. What was her name? Adrian. Adrian went from the kind of the glasses and the thing, and yours.
I'm handing him my water to open the top.
The problem is she doesn't realize I can't open them either. Usually, this one I can get.
Thank you. Of course you can. Thank you so much. I'll take the top. I'll take the top too. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Most people just want the water, then just at the top. But
Well,
you go ahead.
I'm not going to drink the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, that transformation
Well, thank
was.
you. That's very nice. And you know what just occurred to me? It's kind of the transformation of our relationship on the set, isn't it?
With you and Robert De Niro.
Yeah, just as we got to know each other.
Well, that's what I was wondering, whether if he was maybe a little bit more friendly, a little bit more chatty, a little bit more flirty, a little bit more whatever with you than he might have been if it was me playing that role.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, you're very cute. But yeah. Oh, are you saying he was? I mean, don't we all do that?
Yes.
If what you're saying is he was sort of in character, that's why he was being chatty. Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Don't we all do that?
Yes,
as
of
an
course.
actor. I mean,
Yes.
people say, "Oh, what's that thing? They're always in character or their method." I don't want to get into why. I'm not too sure about method, but I mean, we all do that. If you're playing a character who hates somebody, you're not gonna
hang out with him.
Yeah, you're just not.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's lessens the fact that a relationship was created. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it was. That makes it sound fake. Like I will fake being nice and interested in this person. I don't think it's entirely fake. It's complicated.
Well, let me give you an example of like when I did Tombstone. Okay,
Yes.
we had a lot of wonderful actors on
Yes.
that, and
My friend, the producer of Boulevard, I was asking him some questions about Boulevard just to be sure I remembered.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "You should be on this podcast." He said, "Oh, I'll just ask him tons of questions about Tombstone if I go on." Anyway, he loved you.
Well, there were the Earps, which I considered the bad guys, and there were the Cowboys, which were considered by the audience the bad guys, and that was me, and it was Powers Booth, it was Stephen Lang, it was John Corbett, but we bonded, us guys bonded.
Yeah.
Kurt and Val sort of bonded. Ed was not Ed. Sam Elliott was a little bit older than us. He didn't kind of play into it quite as much. But yeah, that just happens.
So, and Bill Paxton, that was the 5th movie you did with Bill, and you barely communicated with him at all in the making of Tombstone.
We didn't communicate very much.
You were good friends by then.
Well, we were good friends by then, but again, he was, in my mind, he was one of them. He was just one of them. I didn't have that much to talk about. People ask me about Val Kilmer. I'm like, I don't know. I never met him. I have no idea. So, but going back to what you're saying is like Powers and I were friends. I mean, Steve, we were friends. It wasn't, we were acting like friends. It wasn't like anything that was not based in a reality. Yeah. And so, I've always said that that's just sort of a natural sort of deal that happened. So was that the next time that you had worked with Ed? The Right Stuff, but since the play?
Right Stuff, Fool for Love, and then Jacknife,
Yeah, well, that
wasn't
you
Ed.
You did a beautiful job in that movie.
Thank you.
Really, really, really beautiful, because that took some doing.
Can you imagine? Every day I went to work, and I was either going to work with Robert De Niro or Ed Harris or both of them. Yeah. That was the entire movie for me.
Yeah.
Had either of them been in the play?
Eddie.
Eddie was in the play?
Which play? Fool for Love?
Well, no, I meant the
play. Strange Snow.
Play.
Yeah, it was based on a play called Strange Snow. No, nobody had been in the play.
Okay.
Kyalani Lee, that name came to me, was the actress who played my part in the play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just always loved that movie, and always, you were just very subtle and very
Thank you.
A very it's a very subtle transformation that happens to you in that movie. When you do a movie like that with those guys, are there rehearsals? Are you guys rehearsing a lot, or do they like rehearsing?
Yes, David Jones was a theater director, and I remember we rehearsed for a couple of weeks, I think. He even did that thing that you do in theater where we were in a big sound stage, and they taped off.
Yes.
They put tape. I'm saying this for the audience.
Sidney Lumet used to do that, the director. But are you talking about for Mark's tapes for where the room was going to be?
Yeah, where the room is.
Right.
This is the kitchen door, and this is the
front
door.
Didn't Lumet do that, Jim? Wasn't that one of the...
Yeah, that was one.
And that's how we rehearsed,
You did. So you had 2 weeks of rehearsals.
So I'm pretty sure might have been a week, because they can't afford much more than that. But
no. And these days, there's
they don't rehearse, I don't think.
No,
do they?
There's no rehearsal at all, which
Boom. Just go into it.
Yeah. It's a shame. You get your 2 or 3 shots, and Well, that was a marvelous movie, and a marvelous performance.
Thank you.
So
I saw it when it came out, and I was really watching a lot of Vietnam stuff then, because I was working on a series at HBO called Vietnam War Story. So we were looking at it in large measure. I mean, we knew we weren't going to get Robert De Niro or Ed Harris on our show, but we were looking at it for the writer, principally for Stephen Metcalf.
Oh yeah.
So, but I remember, watching the movie, going to see the movie when it came out. So I saw, in its initial release, and was really, really quite taken by it.
I've got a lot of great movies to get through. Can we talk a little bit about Street Time?
Sure. Street Smart. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did I call it Straight Time again? Street Smart.
I
guess Straight Time is the
Street Smart.
Dustin Hoffman movie.
I always called it Streets of New York, because that was the title of the script that Freeman wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it got set up initially as Streets of New York.
Oh, okay.
And I think some
You
other
know all
movie
the
came along with that name.
backstory to all of these things.
Well, like I said, I was around when the thing got off the ground. When Freeman was telling us about when Freeman was pitching the story to us.
Jim, when you basically quoted to me Pauline Kael's talking about the movie and her talking about Morgan Freeman, didn't you?
She was she gave the movie a pretty good review. And
Well, I remember the first sentence of that review.
Okay.
Do you,
No.
Jim?
Well, I think what Michael's asking me is I think she poses the question in the review, is Morgan Freeman America's greatest actor?
That was the first sentence of the review. Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes. Wasn't that a? Can you? I mean,
But Morgan Freeman had he done? Was he Morgan Freeman before
no, he was not
No.
Morgan Freeman.
No.
In fact,
He
think. Go ahead. Oh,
No,
I was going to.
I have made up in my own mind that my claim to fame is I'm in movies with people who are not famous yet, and then they go boom, they go crazy. I could list some for you. Edward Scissorhands.
yes.
It was Johnny Depp was not Johnny Depp.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna forget all
That's
of them.
true.
I'm gonna think about it while you say what you were trying to say, Jim.
Well, I can just tell you that Michael Keaton.
Well, Michael
Keaton
Keaton, I was
wasn't
gonna
exact-
say,
yeah,
I was
yeah,
gonna-
Michael Keaton wasn't exactly Michael Keaton.
He wasn't.
He was not that
like
Michael
the
Keaton.
great actor. He
Right.
had done the wonderful, funny stuff.
Yes.
Not that isn't hard to do, by the way.
When you were doing Street Smart, you shot that in Montreal. Do you speak French, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Do
I
you?
thought. Yeah. No. No.
Everyone's laughing.
No, I don't. I laugh just because I used to. That's all I knew was the word "je t'aime," which I used to say a
Voulez-vous
lot to
coucher
women
avec
as I
moi?
walked around.
You don't know that song? You know that song.
I know that song. Yeah, by Serge. What's his name?
I don't know.
Did you?
Yeah, Montreal and New York. I remember being on the plane with Morgan going back and forth Montreal, New York.
Why would I mean, usually Montreal doubles as New York.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of why they went?
Why they would, some of it was in New York?
Well, it was cheaper to shoot up there. It was.
But why did we go back to New York sometimes? I don't know.
And maybe they needed
Real.
Well, they did. Yeah, they did about. I think they shot
New York.
exteriors in New York, and then they found a neighborhood in Toronto that sort of looks like New York.
not Toronto.
We were in Montreal.
Montreal,
Yeah.
I meant. Yeah, Montreal, but in Canada, that sort of looked like New York.
When you met Morgan Freeman, did you do any rehearsals for that movie?
Oh, Morgan! Oh my God, he was so funny. I decided first of all, I decided with Bobby, with Robert De Niro, that it wouldn't do me any good to be in awe of somebody the whole time I'm working with them. You have to break it down to, this is a person, they're an excellent actor, and we're going to work together, right? You can't just go, oh my God, it's Morgan Freeman. Well, of course, we didn't know who Morgan Freeman was, but he's scary from the first time you meet him. He's very tall,
Yeah.
and he's just got that voice.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And he isn't, hey, how you doing? He's serious.
Well, he's
So
playing
we
a
did-
scary character in that movie
Yes,
too.
it was right. He was, but and then he was my pimp, so I had to be subservient to him. But excuse me, I'm having a drink. So we had this rehearsal, and Christopher Reeve was sitting on one side of the table, and Morgan was sitting on the other side of the table. And I swear to you, at one point, Morgan leapt over the table at Christopher Reeve.
While you were shooting something?
No,
or
this was a rehearsal.
a rehearsal.
You know how you're sitting around a table
Yeah,
in rehearsal?
yeah.
At some point in the script, when things get heavy between the two of them, he leapt over the table. And we talked about it later because I did another movie with him. And he said, I just wanted him to know. I just wanted him to know what he was going to be dealing with.
Right.
As an actor, not as a mean person.
Well, you when you did that movie, and you're playing a part, and you're playing one of his girls, and and subservient and all that sort of stuff, but are you looking at him at that point and thinking what Pauline Kael?
Oh no,
no,
No.
right? Of course, we don't. You're right.
no, but I am trying to give back as much as I'm getting. You know that as an actor,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be as present for him and just give him everything I can give,
Yes.
so that he will give it back, and
Yes,
he will be able to give it back.
but but there was no working
Well.
with somebody, and you go like, wow, and to a certain extent, when I worked with Val Kilmer, everybody knew Val was turning in a really nice performance in Tombstone. Everybody knew that.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking if you looked at, if you were like acting with somebody that you thought like, wow, this guy's for real.
Definitely.
Real,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, who is this?
Okay.
And wow.
Okay.
This is come on. This is serious. We have to step up here.
Right.
Yeah. We're not playing around.
Right.
In fact, I remember asking him acting advice for Clean and Sober, because I said to him, I feel like I'm still playing punchy, because Clean and Sober must have come pretty quickly after Jack.
Okay.
What am I saying? Clean and Sober must have come quickly after Street Smart. And he said, Kathy, you are always you in the parts that you play. That is just a given. It is you, and then you work from that to find the character.
Yes.
And that just helped me enormously, because it was me, but then I was a drug addict instead of a hooker.
Well, okay. But for instance, when you did that Street Smart, I keep wanting to call it Straight Time, Street Smart, was there ever any idea, any thought of go down and hang out with these hookers, and do you ever read? Do you do that kind of research?
I'm
Kathy,
not a big
you-
researcher, but
Right.
I did drive around and look at hookers. Yes, I did.
Yeah, and do you where do you think that your talent comes from? I know this is almost an impossible question to ask, but your talent is so obvious, and in everything that I see you in, you're just like whoever that was that said, maybe it was Morgan Freeman, who said, you're always you, but then you take it in this direction and you take it in that direction. And maybe that's all you need to do. When I was working, if I was playing a cop and I had the opportunity to hang out with cops, I would go hang out with cops. If I was playing a military guy, I'd have the opportunity to go out and play with military guys. You never did anything like that?
Well, Clean and Sober, we went to an AA meeting. We all did, all of the main actors. But personally, I try to do as if, Did you do as if? Actually, Robert De Niro talked to me about as if. It just helps me normally.
Explain that.
As if is, what can I find in my own life that is the same as this character? When I was doing Clean and Sober, I was an addict, a coke addict. So I said to my husband, because I said, do you think I should do some coke? Because I'd never done coke.
Yeah.
And he said, Kathy, you just played a hooker.
You didn't need to go turn tricks to figure that out. Yeah.
So what I did, and then maybe you all will think this is silly, but I had to find an addiction that I I'm not a hugely addictive person. Is that the way you say it?
Yeah,
But
addictive.
I mean, I've
what it
smoked
is.
in movies, but I don't ever get addicted. I'm sort of addicted to food, I have to say. But the main thing I found was addicted to love. To love someone and to be loved. And if you don't have that, what does that feel like?
Right.
And what does it feel like if you need it so badly?
Right.
So that's what I did for addiction. And then for a hooker, I mean, really, all it is someone who needs a job, someone who's desperate and needs a job and is willing to sell whatever they have. It's not sex for hookers.
No, I know.
So
I know. Well, one
pain, really.
One of the things that's interesting about Boulevard is when Robin Williams wants to get so close to that kid. He wants to, hug him. He wants to. He doesn't. It's not about sex with Robin Williams, and from what I hear about hookers,
your son is in the room.
He said much worse already. Don't worry.
From what I've read,
yes.
about the last thing they want to do is get emotionally attached. I mean, get emotionally attached in any way. They don't want to tell you their name. They don't want to tell you how they got started. They don't want to tell you who they're, right.
Well, think of the place that you have to go to just go in a room, someone you don't know, just take off your clothes.
Yeah.
And just do the thing, whatever they want you to do, and then take the money and leave. I mean, where do you have to be in yourself to get to that place?
Well, I have never. I grew up in a kind of a nice middle class family. Mm-hmm. I came over to LA, and I never felt. I mean, I was a very pretty young thing when I was 19
I can
over
imagine.
here, and I had there was a lot of gay men in pretty important positions that but to me I kind of knew early on that was just like to kind of sell out that way, to kind of get started that way, to kind of do that would always be in the back of your mind that this is kind of how I got there, know. And I think that would have always been, for me, like a tragedy to go through life.
It would have been very limiting.
Well,
in the end,
to go through something and to become and I'm sure that there are a lot of people that have done things that are tremendously successful now, and that's got to eat at them a little bit. But
I was just thinking also about hookers. By the time I played Punchy in Street Smart, I had a little boy, and he was only like a year and a half.
Okay,
maybe 2. And when you think about, you would do anything for your child, right? Anything. That's the place I got to for being a hooker. Okay, what if I had nothing and I had to?
Gotcha.
The only thing I could do was sell me.
Right.
For my child, I have to say that I would have done it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
As any number of women do.
Oh, and
yes.
men, and men. Right. I mean, you're right, and that's a good example of it. Okay, that's as if. That's what you were talking about. De Niro was talking about, and that's a very good way to explain an actor's way of justifying a character, and feeling not only good, but I think confidence is important as an actor, and feeling with your choices. And if you feel confident, and you just gave me a perfect example of an actress who, how do I get there? Well, if I was under these circumstances, That's what I'd be doing. And so that was really good. That's like for all the people out there that want to be actors. I feel sorry for all the people that want to be actors and stuff now with all the
it's so hard these days.
Well, with all the content that is out there, and there's no movie stars anymore. And I wanted to talk to you, Jim. We'll talk about this later. But AI, I think Disney just sued somebody. AI is just really, really getting out of control. I have a friend that was showrunner on The Walking Dead, and Greg Nicotero. And Greg, last time I saw him when I had done The Walking Dead, he was sending his son off to NYU to be a cinematographer. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a cinematographer. Well, as he was at NYU, and it was not a really good experience because COVID was going on and everything, he realized that the position of cinematographer is going to be taken over by AI. That is just like there will be no cinematographers on this anymore.
No.
And so his reasoning for going to school, he came back saying, "Dad, there's no," and I just talked to Greg the other day about it, and he was just, and that's just scary a little bit.
As an actor, I count on the cinematographer so much. I talk to them. I mean, they're almost like my second director. Depending on the personality, they haven't always been willing. But
I've always had like a really good connection with cinematographers too. I always find them to be very interesting people. Remember, they used to walk around with their light stand.
Yeah.
So, you don't see that anymore. You don't see anybody with
that
little
thing around their neck.
Yeah. But I worked. I worked with a couple of Academy Award-winning cinematographers, and I always found them to be kind of an interesting breed, and I always got along very well. When I was a kid, I was doing a television series for a company. You're not even going to know this because I was like working. I got started early, 10 years earlier than you. I was working for a show called The Runaways. It was called The Runaways for Quinn Martin, a company called Quinn Martin. And I was doing a series, and it was one day, a cinematographer said to me, "Michael, if you could take two steps to the left." And I was in my James Dean mode, like, I feel better here. I like it better here. I feel much more comfortable here.
Oh, you said that.
Oh, I said a lot of things on sets before. That was
And
I
what
just
happened?
said, I feel like I feel. All right, Michael. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. So anyway, we would shoot it, and I forgot all about it. And then, of course, as a kid, and even now, still, I want to watch what I've done. So when the show came out, I watched this show, and that spot, there was like a pole that just like went right up, like right from the back of my shoulders, right up over my head, and it looked absolutely ludicrous, And from that moment on, I went like, I'm going to cozy
Whatever
up to
they
that
say.
cinematographer and anything that they say.
I worked with Caleb Deschanel on The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to tell a story like this, which was, as I told you guys, I'd only just done theater. So here is The Right Stuff. And at one point he told me to move a little bit to my right. Just move a little to your right. So I moved the way you would on stage. I mean, I moved a foot or two, but when a cinematographer says a little bit, they mean, and he goes, "Oh, stage actors."
I've never been able to figure out what's the stage right. If you're on stage, it's stage right and stage left. Okay. I always had trouble with all that Shakespeare stuff too. I could never understand any of that. That's why I moved.
I find it hard too.
You do? Oh, good. I'm so happy to hear another like a wonderful actress as yourself. Maybe doesn't understand everything he's saying all the time.
Of course not.
Wow. And what happens to me is now you can see, like, they'll do Shakespeare, And then there'll be like, if an American said it, he would be saying it like this. And then I see what Shakespeare's writing, and then I'm like, oh my God, oh, no wonder why he's so brilliant, because I can understand what he's saying. So, but I've always been good at acting, Kathy, nothing else. That's just like when it comes to school, when it comes to, I think I have that ADHD thing, I don't, well, let's talk about Clean and Sober a little bit, because that movie, and one of the things, and Jim, you'll appreciate this because we love Emmett Walsh. Yeah, and we just passed away.
He was
Bless
in
him.
Straight
Yes,
Time.
he did.
Yeah.
Yes,
He was in
did.
Straight Time.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the best.
Wasn't
Wasn't he good in that? I just thinking about that.
Here's the thing about it, Kathy, is that I thought, like, every time I've seen Emmett Walsh, he's always been kind of that straight time, bigger than life, kind of that loud, nasty, obnoxious sort of like thing. And in Clean and Sober, he's like the opposite. I went back to watch Clean and Sober because I hadn't seen it. I went back to watch it, and first of all, I forgot that he was even in it, or maybe I didn't know who he was at the time when I did see it.
Yeah.
But he really plays it. I mean, he's just straight. He's just like more like who
Absolutely
that
straight.
person really is.
Yeah. And here's Michael just, climbing the walls and his energy and plus who he's playing. And here's Emmett just straight, just quiet. And okay, I hear you need a sponsor. Yeah, well, come on, we're having a cup of coffee. He didn't do any more than that.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. How they played off each other.
I worked with
Whenever I hear Emmett Walsh, I always think of Blood Simple
yeah.
and his death scene in Blood Simple. That's something memorable.
We
Go
ahead, Jim.
You know the movie? You remember the movie? The Coen Brothers movie?
I don't remember.
Here's the thing about Blood Simple, and this is the same thing with a number of movies. Is like I'm a real give me a beginning, a middle, and something I can understand really easily. I'm not that smart, so if you're trying, I never understood it, Jim. I could never, I know that Jim Jacks produced it. I've been around Jim Jacks. I just get lost when I watch that movie. And what's the movie where the guy's writing all over himself?
Memento.
Memento was another one that I could never figure out. But I guess you're going to have to keep that one, Jim. But I did want to mention that to somebody that we have worked together with. Who's that? What's the whole thing of 5 degrees of separation?
7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Kevin.
I thought it was 6.
It might be 6.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, now when I think about it, I can't think of anybody that I work with Lauren Bacall. I work with who worked with Humphrey Bogart, and I met De Niro. Mm-hmm. I can't think of anybody that I'm 1 degree as a separation from. Right?
So what do we have? What do you and I have?
Well, now we would be 1 degree of separation because we're not.
Right. Oh, I thought you meant you figured out that we worked with somebody.
Oh yeah, we worked together. I worked with a guy named Luca Bercovici.
Luca Bercovici?
Yes, you remember him?
Yes. Oh my! It was my husband.
Yes.
Clean and Sober. Yeah. I named my second son Luca. Not after him. I just love that name.
Yeah. And I did a movie.
What happened to Luca Bercovici?
I don't know.
His father was a filmmaker in Italy. I think he might have gone back to Italy. I'm not sure.
He was a very interesting look.
I was just going to say,
good looking in a very kind of Italian sort of whatever it is sort of way.
Just scary, but attractive.
Yeah. He's an attractive guy, and he was really, really good in that. And I thought that the portrayal, that you had in that movie was it's hard for me to understand, but it's very indicative of a lot of women who are in abusive relationships, and you talk about that at all?
I know. I mean, we already talked about addiction to love, and she was obviously addicted to coke as well, but she just needed to go back to him. Doesn't she say at one point, he needs me and you don't?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So I think she needed to be needed. It sounds like a cliche, but it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge for a woman,
Yeah.
You grow up thinking that you're going to need to be a caretaker. The woman,
Yeah.
your brother can go out and, play baseball, but you're going to help your mother make dinner or something.
Yes.
You're going to be the caretaker. So, yeah, I rewatched that movie again too recently, and I thought, why does she go back to her husband? And I played the part. Yeah, or her boyfriend or whatever. I don't know. She needs to be needed. She needs that life. She needs the coke. She needs him. Michael's trying to get her to go straight. It's too confusing. It's too hard. She can't change that quickly.
Well, and I was surprised that they put that all in 30 days, actually. Like that whole movie takes place in 30 days, because it always felt to me like it was longer. But they have Alcoholics Anonymous, of course, and then they've got something called Al-Anon,
Yes.
right? So Al-Anon is for people, I believe, like the woman that you played in that movie, that just... Am I right, Jim? That Al-Anon is...
Well, it's like the families.
I think it's the
of
families of
addicted,
alcoholics.
person.
Al-Anon is?
Yeah, it's for like a support group for
All right, there's a word.
You know.
There's a word that they use in AA a lot, which is somebody who lets the person use when they're around them.
enabler.
Yeah,
Enabler. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's that.
She's an enabler.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that seems to be a big thing as far as like the character that you played.
And she needed that job because I don't think he worked.
He didn't look
Luca
like he worked.
Bercovici didn't work. He came
He
home
was
with
throwing something in a garage.
yeah.
The only thing I
comes
saw
home
him
with
do was
stolen goods, right?
Right.
So she needed the job. She needed the guy. She didn't believe that Michael Keaton would really want to stay with her. She didn't have the confidence. She was absolutely without self-confidence,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Michael thought he could. I keep saying Michael. What's the character's name?
That one
By the way, Michael is so amazing, isn't he? Oh, he's so
Daryl.
Of course, Daryl. Thank you. He doesn't look like a Daryl, does he?
Well, he for all of us who weren't there when he was. By the way, did you guys rehearse that?
Yes,
You
yes,
did.
quite a bit.
You did quite a bit of rehearsal.
And then we went to that
yeah.
AA meeting, and
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've always just thought rehearsals were always so good. Let me ask you a quick question
agree.
about. I want to come back to. Well, he was like mind-blowingly good because we all saw him in a certain way.
yes,
And so when that happened, when that came out, and he was just so manically, chain-smokingly needy, manipulative, like he was just, that was, I guess, the beginning. Was that after he did Batman or before he did Batman, Jim? Do you know?
I think it came after, just after.
Right after he did Batman?
No, Clean and Sober was before Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
yeah. In fact, that's
Wow.
one of my other examples of me being in a movie with somebody who just shoots to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the movie he did
Yeah,
right
he
after
would have been.
Beetlejuice.
Not that he wasn't. Yeah, he was. I mean, he was obviously already a movie star. a wonderful actor, but actually, I don't
Not
think people
taken
saw him.
seriously
Yes,
in the way that
That's
somebody
it.
would get nominated for an Academy Award.
that's
Or
it.
yeah.
To do the wonderful work that he did in the movie, which was all one take,
Birdman.
Birdman. I mean, to do that kind of, nobody really thought of him as the one to do work like in Birdman.
Yeah.
He got nominated for that, right?
I won, I think.
Yeah.
Birdman, I thought he won.
Sorry, he won. Yeah.
So, but you had a chance to work with Morgan Freeman again, then, right?
I know.
You know,
And he was so different in that one.
Was he nicer?
Maybe that's why I said to him, I feel like I'm still doing my character from our other movie. He actually, I think I heard, I wasn't there, but I heard he threw a chair the first rehearsal.
On as the
No, not at somebody.
no, but as the
As that guy, yeah. Although
in
that,
Clean and Sober.
yeah, but how could that be? Because that guy was
So-
unflappable.
Yeah.
He'd seen it all. He'd done it all.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't really throw a chair.
Doesn't it sounds like maybe somebody got that mixed up with the role that he played in New York.
Yeah,
Jumping over the
jumping over the table
yeah,
at
yeah.
Christopher Reeve, who was so shocked. I remember he was just so amazed.
That was that movie like hit home. Like got a little too close.
What, Clean and Sober for you?
for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
I'm
heard
not
that.
even sure. I think I watched like half of it and thought, I need a drink.
I know. People come up to me and say, they can't tell you they were in AA. But they
Yes.
say, I love that movie. I saw it 8 times. And I know that means that they had seen it in rehab.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you only saw half of it. So what does that say about you? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but he never made it through a full rehab. That's what it says.
Well, one of the things it was, and again, I hadn't seen it since it had come out, but I didn't remember was that you had an interesting way of going out in that.
Man. Oh,
I like
the way I died in that movie?
Yes.
Was that a huge shock to you?
Absolutely was a
Yes,
huge
good.
shock to
Oh,
me.
good,
It was
good,
an absolutely a
Yeah.
huge shock to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I get why they did it, but you don't see that happen
No.
in movies very often.
it was,
you know.
It was great. It was great. You didn't see it coming. You know what was awful about that? Have you ever done one of those face, like that mask that they have to make for you?
Yes. I've got a whole.
And I'm claustrophobic. Oh, it's just awful. That was the first time I ever did it. I've done it a couple times since then, but they cover your face with, what is that, like paper mache kind of stuff, and they give you a straw through your nose or your mouth.
Yeah.
And you can't see, you can't hear,
Yeah.
and you really can't breathe very well.
Well, here's the thing.
I had to have the makeup guy hold my hand.
Well, it is
I
odd.
did. It was just the hardest thing.
Kathy, anytime they do an impression of your face, or they want to
Mm-hmm.
do a likeness of your face, or they'll it feels like glue almost, like they just pour glue all over it. You got a straw. It is very
it's
kind of bizarre. But let me ask you a question about that, because they put that on you, I would think, to show you in a place where your face was, they could do whatever they wanted to.
right. They made a model of my face that went through the window.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that happened so fast.
happened so fast.
I didn't even know that.
So
Okay.
in fact, I don't think I had to even act that. I felt that my biggest job was not to, what's the word, to show that, preview that this is about to happen. Just you're driving down the street and you've just done some coke and you're doing it wrong. You did too much and you're thinking about your life. And,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was very well.
And then I think we just cut, because I certainly didn't myself go through the window. I probably just, slammed forward a little bit.
Yeah, I'd have to go back that and slow that down
I
because
know.
I thought they. It feels to me like they did that. They put that on you, and then they never used it.
No,
It is on there.
They didn't put it on me.
No, but they put it on a fake head that would go through a window, and it's in the movie. It's in.
I think so now.
Yeah, actually, because I was looking for that shot of you like. Usually they give you that shot.
It happens so quick.
What about?
I would say the editor. Shout out to the editor for that one, right?
Yeah. Just the idea that they just don't do that very often. They don't set up a character and then just have them for not for no reason. There's definitely a reason why they did that.
And usually there's a little bit of preamble, like maybe a little musical thing that makes you go, "Oh, something's about to happen." There was nothing.
Yeah, no,
you just had no idea.
Okay, you've done so many movies that there's so many that I can talk to you about. Our thing is only so long. Can I talk to you a little bit about Cider House Rules?
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to know what it was like to work with Michael Caine, because you were around him a lot, and
well, it was heaven.
Yeah,
it was just heaven.
Yeah.
Here's my Michael Caine story.
Okay.
We were all in a hotel, and my room, I could see down to the front where the cars came to pick us up in the morning.
Yeah.
And let's say the call's 5:30. And I look out there, it's 5:15, Michael's out there. Yeah. Every day he was early, he was ready, he was on time, he knew his words, but then he didn't take it, he didn't sort of act like, well, guess what I do? And it wasn't something that he flaunted. That was his work ethic. He calls himself a working actor. He's a working actor. I believe he comes from a family where the father had a job in a factory or maybe in a shipyard or something.
I think he was a Cockney, wasn't he?
Yes, I think so. And so he has a work ethic, and if it's movies or not, that's how he's gonna be. So that's my Michael Caine story. But at the same time, wonderful and adorable to work with, kind, good.
Did you guys do rehearsals for that movie?
No, I don't remember rehearsals for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Noticed, and I then saw in the credits, J.K. Simmons is in that for about 3 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Was there maybe a larger part that got cut down, or do you know what? Because there's a quick shot, and I was while I was watching, I was like, I think that's
J.K. Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the cast, and of course he was in it, but very, very short and quick. I thought.
Well, he didn't become big until, what was the movie about the drummer?
Well, that's what he won the Academy Award for. He won Academy Award for, Jim, do you know the name of that movie where he's the
Whiplash.
Yeah, attaboy.
I remember
great movie. I love
Your
that movie.
son is so smart.
What did he do? Had done before that?
Well, I know that he did the first Spider-Man movie. He played a very memorable role in the original Spider-Man movie, so that probably.
But he's not
it.
going to get to play the Spider-Man movie without having some really good credits before that.
Yeah, I can look up. I think that one might have kind of elevated his fame, but in terms of what he did before,
I remember him from an HBO series called Oz.
Oh, he
about a prison.
Oh,
right.
of course.
Yeah.
He played like a skinhead.
He's always worked and always
Aryan
just
Nation guy, and he was
been
really
amazing.
haunting in that.
Yeah.
I thought everybody was so good in that. I thought Tobey Maguire was so wonderful in that movie. Really, I just
And Paul Rudd.
and Paul Rudd, all of
Who
you
is-
guys. I mean, you guys, Charlize Theron. I mean, that's
Jane
an incredible
Alexander.
cast. Where did you guys shoot
We were
that?
in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts.
They went to New Hampshire to shoot some that I didn't go on.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I really liked that movie. And
Me too. That
you
was
like-
beautiful.
did you like? It's
I love working with him.
it's a movie that you should feel sad at times, like when Michael Caine's character dies, and the black girl and her father, and that whole situation is so traumatic, and it's like a drama.
Delroy
makes you feel
Lindo.
drama, but like you kind of come away from it.
You feeling hopeful a little bit?
Definitely hopeful,
Yeah.
and it's such a nice 360 for the Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire character.
Well, it's a beautiful book.
Okay, it's based on a book.
Oh,
A
yes.
John Irving book,
John
yeah.
Irving.
World According to Garp author.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He played the station master.
Oh.
No, the book is gorgeous.
Well,
Yeah.
So
I also, I think the reason you're able to have such a when I go through your resume or your career and online now and looking everything's good. Every single thing is good. Everything is good. Right. Everything is good. Can you tell me one that isn't good? I won't put you on the spot. You don't need to do that. But I will say that it seems to me that you had I'll just call it a little bit of a fallback, net that was there for you that I'm sure was lucrative and fun, and that was the Tom Selleck
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
How many of those
So
did
I did 5.
you did 5 of
Yeah.
those?
I think they did 8 altogether.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did. Yeah, and you did 5 of them.
Yeah,
so
I
that
did
was
5. That was so fun, and I love Nova Scotia. I was crazy about Nova Scotia. I wanted to move there.
They shot that in Nova Scotia.
Yes, it's quite a deal to get there from L.A. But oh yeah, we shot that.
Where did that movie supposed to take place?
I think Maine or
And they
New
went to
Hampshire.
Nova Scotia
Oh,
to
yeah.
shoot it.
Yeah,
Why would they do that? Because of the money?
Yes,
It's cheaper in to fly everybody
you
over.
know
to
that, Michael.
Well,
You've done this enough.
not Nova Scotia though, for Maine, but
It was so beautiful, Nova Scotia.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cut to her. I never really was very good at parties and premieres and
Me neither.
yeah,
Ooh, rap parties. Oh, I
yeah.
don't like rap parties. I don't like goodbye.
Well, I don't like.
I sort of sneak away. It's
yeah,
terrible.
I don't like goodbyes either.
Oh,
But I've always had trouble, like being on a red carpet, somebody coming up, hey,
Yeah.
putting a microphone in my face. It's just not what I do. I'm just not good at it. Some people are like movie stars, and they're just good at it.
Oh, I
They're
know. You
really-
know who's so good is Nicole Kidman. She's so good at that.
Oh, I wanted to ask
She's
you
such a
about
brilliant
working-
actress, and yet she's also a great businesswoman. She really knows how to do what she has to do.
You had a lot to do as far as working together
Yes,
on that movie. And
yeah.
how was that experience? I have to.
I have to tell you, that was a brutal experience. That was Romania.
That's right.
If you wanna pick a location that you can't
I'm
believe.
talking about your relationship with Nicole.
Yes.
And that it just was it. Do you have a nice,
Lovely.
Yeah, just
Wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
I always find. Do you find? I mean, I have a hard time. I always seem to like everybody I've ever worked with. Has always been pretty good.
I have the same thing. I can
Okay.
only really think of 2 people, and I'm
Who are
not going
they?
to say. I'm not going to say
Are they still alive? Come
that
on.
I would
come on.
really rather not work with again.
Well,
And but honestly, when people say that, in fact, I always try to. You meet somebody, you're at a restaurant or maybe you're on vacation, and oh, aren't you an actress and blah, and I want to make a good impression because I don't know where this comes from. This thing of actors being jerks.
Well, and that's been my experience too. I had a very, very difficult relationship with Lauren Bacall. Okay, Lauren Bacall.
Well, that's kind of normal.
Who, by the way, I didn't think was really that good of an actress. I didn't tell her that. That's not why she didn't like me. But afterwards, she did the thing with Bogart, and she anyway. I had a very, very difficult time with her, but I heard people were difficult to work with. The guy in The Rock, the English.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. I heard they told me that Sean Connery could be a little bit of a bear, and I sat with him for 2 weeks. For some reason, we're always getting our makeup on together, and he was lovely, fun, wonderful. I think people can be frightened of Ed Harris. I worked with Ed twice. I've never gotten to know Ed very well
he's
because,
just quiet.
well, he is, but he's always been, like when we did The Abyss, he was the good guy, I was the bad guy.
I remember.
When we did The Rock, he was the bad guy, and I was the good guy. So again,
So you
it's that
didn't-
thing where you
yeah.
don't, I never
You
really,
Didn't mesh or bond.
no,
You couldn't really.
No.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
No,
Yeah.
and but actors have a bad reputation
They do.
for being egotistical, difficult,
Prima donna.
demanding, prima donnas, all that sort of stuff. I never find that. I always think of us as kind of like a team, and everybody wants to win. Everybody
Sure.
wants to win the game, and everybody's got their own part that they play or position that they play on that team. And, when you're ready to go, it's so important to me that if they're ready to go, I'm standing there.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean that's a great analogy because if the quarterback is throwing you the ball and you're looking the other direction,
Yeah.
I mean you've got to be ready. You've got to do the right route, right? Is that what they
Good for
say?
you. You know your football. You're the right route. That's pretty good.
Thank you. I actually love sports.
You do.
Yeah, I could talk about the Dodgers if you like.
The Dodgers. You and Linda Hamilton should get together and talk. She
Oh,
loves
does she
the
love the
Dodgers. I'm
Dodgers?
surprised you haven't run into each other at one of the games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll have to look for her.
Yeah. It's just I'm. What do you think? Also, well, they said to one of the basketball players, "Shut up and dribble."
Oh, yeah.
And
That was
so-
Laura Ingraham,
and
I
so
think.
A lot of times I find
Shut up.
saw this on Joe Rogan recently, and I like Joe Rogan. I watched that show, but it seems like if you're an actor or an actress, that you can't say anything. You can't. If you're passionate, like De Niro is an example.
You
of
get a
somebody.
bad rep just from sort of doing the work and
for saying how you feel about what's going on
Yeah.
in the world, in the country, in the state, in the and I don't understand why we're any different than somebody who's on CNN. Like, they've got an opinion, I've got an opinion, and I don't do it because my dad always said never talk about politics or religion with people you don't know. And
Smart.
yeah. And he was a pretty smart guy. I want to make sure that I've gotten.
We haven't talked about Boulevard.
Yeah. That's I think in the letter that we sent you, and it was because we had Ditto on.
Yeah.
And Ditto Montiel, who directed Recognizing Your Saints, which I don't know if you've seen
Yes.
that. Oh, it's just such a wonderful movie, and so many great people came out of it. And I did watch a little bit, and I was so fucking angry that they did this. So angry, and that's because I'm talking about Boulevard.
Yeah.
They made you fucking audition.
They did make me.
They motherfuckers, man.
They did. In fact, what I had to do. What? Who was it who was in doubt? I'm not sure. There was somebody who was in doubt. So I went over to my agents and our wonderful producers, Jeff Gilbert and Ryan. So sorry, Ryan, I don't have your last name in my head. But I had to read every single scene that she's in, on camera. They filmed me reading, but with my producer who was playing the other part. You know what? I was reading with my producer Jeff, and Ryan was filming, and I didn't know who these guys were, and I had to read every single scene. And they sent that tape around to everybody in show business, I understand. And I got the green light to do the movie.
Well, I
don't think Bob Odenkirk had to do that. There's another movie. Bob Odenkirk wasn't Bob Odenkirk at the time. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
But
so basically, the movie.
Maybe Robin just wanted to be sure. I don't know. I truly don't know.
I have a hard time believing it was
But
a Robin,
Robin,
and I have a hard time believing it was Ditto. But
it was such
what
a.
do I know?
Well, maybe it was Ditto.
I have a hard time believing it was Ditto.
But Robin is a great actor. Was a great actor.
Of course.
He was an actor. I think the Mork and Mindy guy.
Yes.
Was wonderful.
Jim and I used to watch him on Jim.
Yeah.
We used to watch him do improv before Mork and Mindy in Hollywood.
Yeah,
before
he ever
just brilliant. But this
some
movie,
little
but
theater in
Boulevard.
Hollywood,
Sorry,
we went to an improv one night, and it was hysterical. It was great, and we didn't know who Robin Williams was.
Yeah.
We went back a couple of weeks later, and after the show, one of the cast members said, "Yeah, tonight's show was good, but Robin wasn't here. He's doing an episode of Happy Days."
Yeah.
And then like 2 years later, he's Robin Williams megastar.
Yeah.
I asked Ditto about it when he was on the podcast, and I didn't ask him about it. He told me about it, and I was shocked that I was not aware of Boulevard. I was shocked. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know it existed. So
it didn't do well.
Well, I don't know why, and I'll get to that. But that so he mentioned it, and I watched it, and I loved it. I fucking loved it. And I watched it again yesterday because I knew I was going to be talking to you, and I hadn't seen it in about a year. You play a really a character that is hard to define, and you do it very, very well. And I wanted to ask you, do you and Robin and Ditto get together and say, okay, these are who these people are. This is the way they've been living for the last 40 years or 30 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
This is what they're sex life started out to be. This is what their marriage started out to be. Do you have those discussions with those guys, or are you just like, because you were also brilliant in that.
Oh,
just
thanks,
absolutely
thanks.
wonderful. And I don't understand why more people don't know about that movie.
Well, it was Robin's last movie. Did you? You know, it was his last.
Well,
I mean, that doesn't explain anything. I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, no, but it's good to know. For one thing,
I think it was well publicized.
Do you think that people?
I don't think it got much of a theatrical distribution.
I think it might
I mean,
have.
its box office is barely $100,000.
Do you think that people might not want to see Robin Williams in that type of situation, like that type of character? I mean, everybody thinks of, even in Good Will Hunting. I mean, there's something.
Well, it's a very sad.
It's a very sad.
It's a very sad movie. Yeah.
It is a very sad movie.
Yeah.
Did
Did Ditto tell you the story about
yes,
the location?
yes,
The people that we met?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Tell it again. Tell it again.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, we got to the house, the location in Nashville, and we met the people who lived in the house, and it was astounding that they, first of all, looked like Robin. The husband looked like Robin. The wife looked like me. And second of all, they were in exactly the same position as the characters in the movie. He's gay. She knows it. They live separate lives. They don't. Actually, they might still sleep in the same bed because they love each other. I think they even might have kids, but but it's
life imitating art.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And that helped me anyway to play the part, because my part is I love this man. I've always loved him. I've always known way deep down inside that he's
That's
gay.
what I wanted to ask you.
I know so far down deep inside that he's gay. I do. But we love each other.
Yeah.
We are affectionate.
Yes.
We are no longer sexual.
Yeah.
I can understand it. I can really understand it.
You could or you could not.
I can.
You can understand it.
I can understand loving someone like that.
Oh, of course.
I mean, they met in college, I think. They met in college. They love the same movies. Probably have the same sense of humor, read the same books. I mean, the movie doesn't show us any of that. But that's the background. Now he is starting to want to be his authentic self, right?
Yeah.
And he picks up a male hooker, and then he realizes he has to be who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he realizes that he wants to be out.
Yes.
And not necessarily pick up hookers, but he wants to be out and have a real relationship. We see that at the very end. We see him going on a date, I think, don't we?
No, I don't think so. I think the last shot in the movie is him. You know what Ditto told me was that that guy originally went from being to wah, like really gay.
Yes, he did. Oh wow! Well, he was all leather. You know, he was.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, what I believe happens in because I just watched it yesterday. I believe that he's driving away. He's happy. They make you sort of happy because you're heading off on a cruise.
I'm going to find my authentic self too. You know,
yeah.
We kept using that expression. It's maybe
so
another cliche coming out of my mouth.
So did you and Robin and Ditto, talk about any of this stuff?
No, we did not.
You did
but
not.
we were all astounded at this couple who lived in the house where we were shooting.
Yes.
This couple just blew us away, and I just there was a moment we went out in the backyard with this couple, and we were just the four of us standing there talking, and and later they told me the whole crew and everybody was everybody was at the windows watching us, just stunned.
They should have filmed that.
Robin wasn't the tallest guy,
Right, yeah.
so even the man was the same height as Robin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the woman basically had my hair. We looked quite a bit alike. It was amazing. And they were so comfortable with it, with who they were and with their marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, our movie is about Robin not being comfortable.
Yes, it is.
But you could understand how a marriage like that exists.
Oh yeah.
By meeting these people, I don't think we didn't even really have to talk about it.
I see. Okay, well,
That helped us enormously. That was our rehearsal.
What was your
research?
What
I can
was,
imagine.
What was? I have never met. I never had an opportunity to meet Robin Williams, but somebody who I thought knew him well said that if Robin is speaking to you one-on-one, he's sort of just like the rest of us. But as soon as 2 or 3 people gather, he turns it a little bit more into the Robin Williams that we're all familiar with, the sort of more manic, funny, fun. Do you notice that about him?
I did not notice that on this movie. I'm trying to think, maybe if we were all sitting around waiting for the camera or something. No, he more was very into himself. I mean, he would talk to me, of course, and to Ditto, but he wasn't.
He was not
hail fellow,
funny.
well-met.
He wasn't
No.
doing.
He never did funny ever. He never did funny. He never did manic. He never did loud.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, so I mean, he's.
And I
he's
don't
an
know if he
actor.
was already sick. Who knows?
Yeah, it was very close to his end
I know.
within months. Within
There's
a few
some-
months.
And he
really.
had Lewy body syndrome. Am I right about that?
I don't know the name of it, but it's an
And so-
Alzheimer's type of.
Yeah, maybe he
thing
was
that-
already. I don't know now.
And again,
I shouldn't say that because I know nothing.
It is called Lewy body disease
Yeah.
and Lewy body dementia.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw him the last time I saw him. We both went from that movie to doing separate. He had to do reshoots on one of the museum movies,
okay.
and I went to do. Don't tell me Harrison Ford. Age of Adeline. I don't know if you know
Okay.
that movie. In Vancouver, and we had dinner. But his, I don't know. She felt like a kind of a. It wasn't his wife. It was some kind of a manager,
Robin?
handler.
Robin?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Robin.
yeah.
Robin and a very nice woman, and I went out for dinner, and Robin sat next to me, and the lady was across this table from us. Sorry, I can't remember her name, and Robin was holding my hand during the whole time. Holding my hand and kind of trembling the whole time. That was the only thing I ever saw of him being, I don't know, something was up. And then we walked to this restaurant. Then she left and went back to her hotel, and Robin walked me to my hotel. And my last image of him is he's standing, you must know the Sutton Place in Vancouver, where everybody's.
It's called the Slutton Place, but yeah.
Oh, okay. And so he's standing in the doorway, and I turned around and waved, and I just have this image like a movie of him.
Wow, it does sound like a shot from a
Yeah,
movie
he's just standing there. And
in the doorway.
in the doorway.
He is one of the very, very
Terrible.
few comedians who start as a comedian and end up. Jim, can you think of anybody?
Well, it's like
who's-
Michael Keaton, kind of. I mean, it's Michael Keaton-esque.
It is. You're
Ish,
right.
yeah.
You're right.
But-
And I'm just wondering if Jim, can you think of an example of anybody who really kind of started off like Jerry Lewis and ended up like Robert De Niro,
Yeah.
or like, is there anybody you can think of that even comes close
Well,
to the transformation?
Nobody who had anywhere near the comic chops that Robin Williams had. No.
Yeah, because
Almost, a lot of comedians. You get Eddie Murphy, or you get everybody wants to be in the movies. Everybody wants to be in the movies.
well, comedians are good actors, aren't they?
Well,
in general,
a lot of times they are.
Yeah.
I guess you could kind of make a case for Jim Carrey.
Oh, Jim Carrey. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
There you go.
Well, he's a brilliant guy. I remember when I was doing a terrible movie, or just done a terrible movie, and it was Navy SEALs. It was with Charlie Sheen, and I was out partying with Charlie Sheen, and
That's for a whole other podcast.
well, you know what? When I did the movie Navy SEALs, Charlie was like sober like the entire time. He was like, I don't know where he was in his life. He was funny, fun. He was young, like 21, 22. He's getting $3 million for the movie. He's like, and he was very smart, very, very quick sense of humor, smart sense of humor. But anyway, I was at that club, Jim's. It's right next to the Comedy Store on Sunset. You might remember the name of that club. But I was in that club, and I was with Charlie, and Jim Carrey came up and said, "Are you the guy from the Terminator? Are you?" Yeah. And I was like, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Oh my God, you're on In Living Color. You're the guy on In Living Color." And I immediately went like, "Wow, dude, you are so talented. You are so I can't, because I don't have any problem letting people know
Yeah,
how
it's good to
you are so God. You are so good. You're so good." And he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, but I want to do what you do. I want to do what you do." And
how did you feel about that?
well, yeah, I just good. Yeah, good. Well, he obviously not only did what I did, he did what I did better than I did. It's just kind of a story of a guy who kind of knew what he wanted and went out. I'll tell you about we got to stop. But I'll tell you my other story from In Living Color, which is what were the brothers' names? Jim?
Wayans.
The Wayans.
The Wayans, but which ones? Not the guy.
Damon.
Damon. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm living in Studio City. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm sitting on my porch, and Jim knows this story, but and Caine might too. But I'm sitting on my porch, and I look down the street, and I see these two people in suits going from door to door, down the driveways, knocking on the door, coming up the next driveway, knocking on the door in suits. And I'm thinking, okay, here they come, right? And I'm on my front porch, and I thought to myself, I just go inside, just ignore them. I don't want to, whatever. And then I said to myself, no, really, why should I change? I'll just sit there, and when they come up and they give me the, I forget the name of
Jehovah's
their
Witness.
Leaflet, yeah.
What's it called?
The Lighthouse or something like that.
Yeah, it is something like
the
that.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, and I'll just take it and say thank you very much. And I was sitting there, and I watched them come next door. I kind of watched them I was reading or something like that at the time, and I felt them walking up, and they said, "Excuse me," and I said, "Yeah," and I was like, "You're Damon Wayans. You're Damon Wayans," and he said, "From In Living Color. I know who you are." Oh my God! What are you? I kind of wanted to say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
What in God's name are you doing? But it was Damon Wayans.
What was he doing?
He's part of that church.
Oh, he is a Jehovah's Witness.
Yes, and
Wow.
he from what I understand, because I looked into it a little bit, because it was just so shocking.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to ignore, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I love you. I think you're the greatest thing in the, From what I understand, the church took his family in when they were young, when the kids were all young, when the brothers were all young, and looked after them, and they grew up in the church in a loving kind of situation. And 30 years later, or
crazy.
35, 40 years later, he still feels I don't know if you call it an obligation, but a desire to spread the word that these people helped me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's wonderful, actually.
Cool. Yeah.
I just thought of something.
Please.
Lily Tomlin can be put in the same mix. A comedian.
I would say that. I
right?
would say that for sure.
Oh, good. Thank you. I don't know why. It just occurred to me.
I'm trying to think.
Don't agree? Do you remember her in, the famous one? Nashville. It's called, actually, Nashville. Remember?
Well,
Is that the name of it?
Yeah, she was in that.
Oh, remember when he's singing that song to her?
listen,
was
I was too
beautiful.
busy looking at Goldie Hawn when she was doing the telephone lady.
Laughing, yeah.
I didn't pay that much attention to her comedic chops on laughing. I was like too busy looking at Goldie Hawn, who Kurt obviously ended up marrying. But
Darn. Did you have a chance for a while there?
with Goldie?
Yeah.
No. I never. You know what, Kathy? I've never been like a player. Like I've always been a relationship person. That doesn't mean that I didn't make huge mistakes. I would go from. This is really from the time I was in first or second grade. I would have a girlfriend, and then I would meet another girl, and then we'd break up. Then I would meet another girl.
You're a serial monogamous.
Thank you. I think so. Serial.
Serious.
I ended up getting married I'm done now. I'm like total. I have 5 kids.
You have 5 kids?
Yeah, he's
What?
number 3.
Yeah.
And I've
The
got
one
2.
in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've got a little boy at home. He's
You do?
11.
How old?
Yeah, he's 10. I've got another one that's just come to stay with me that's almost about ready to go out and be a first responder. He's 22.
Wow.
And then he's 33.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got twin boys who are 41. And
Look at you.
I've been married 3 times. And I was doing a lot of acting and a lot of partying. So it was a very busy life. But listen, do you look at your career and your life in a way which is like, wow, I really enjoyed this. I've really had a good time. Aren't I lucky?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel people say, "Oh, what are you working on?" And I'll work if it's the right thing. But I don't have that fire in the belly anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's partly because I sort of feel. I was gonna say, well, I feel like I've really done just about everything I set out to do.
You have.
And
I just was wondering if you realize that, and do you feel, because I do myself too.
Yeah.
Because, go ahead.
Well, just I'm yes, I feel lucky and blessed, but I also feel like I kept trying to give up acting. I was very confused with the mother.
Yes.
Wife, mother,
Yes.
/ actor.
Yes.
That didn't work very well. I don't do that very well.
Right. How can you? So
So I'm not sure where I was.
Well,
going
I just
with that
basically
one,
was
but,
asking if you're grateful, if you look back at your career as something that was
so grateful,
one-
so incredibly,
wonderful.
so stunned. You know, when the phone rings and they say, "Yeah, you're getting the offer." You're just like, "What? Me?" And then every single time thinking you're gonna get the pink slip. Every time. That's a.
Have you ever gotten a pink slip?
No.
Me neither.
I think that's a reference that
I've come
our younger.
I've come pretty
audience.
close. But
No, I on Clean and Sober every day. I thought I was going to get fired every single day.
really?
Yeah. But then you know, I mean, I'm not totally confident every time I get the job. I go, really? Because I can think of about 3 people who would be better than me. Do you ever do that? I used to do that. I think I still do. But at the same
I don't get that many jobs as you do, so those thoughts don't travel. But I do, you know, I do see people. Let me ask you this question too. And then, for me, when I was young, I met Mickey Rourke. Before Mickey Rourke was Mickey Rourke, and I went, that dude is like, there's something about that dude that is like really, really special. Okay? Mm-hmm. He came on that series I told you about I did for Quinn Martin. He came in to do one day, like a day player thing. And I was like, wow, that guy I really like. Mm. My agent he's no longer with us, but and he was Mel's agent for years and years. When I met Mel Gibson, I was like, this is before Mel had
Lethal Weapon, probably.
Yeah, it was right when he first came over from Australia. So he had done Road Warrior. Is that what
probably Road Warrior? Yeah.
Road Warrior, and I was like, that guy. That's like that. Mm. Do you notice that? Do you ever see actresses?
Oh yeah,
You do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I'm kind of awful because I also do the opposite. I look at someone, and I say, you know what? I don't think they're going to work again very much. You know, you might work with somebody and they're so excited and they've got the part, and I think somehow it's not going to work. It's not going to go anywhere for you. I don't know why exactly.
Do you ever walk away from experiences going like, she certainly doesn't have it, or boy, he
all the time. I'm a snob.
Oh yeah, all the time. Okay. Well, I think that you're brilliant.
Well,
and I think that you've got many, many more great roles ahead of you if you want them. And I've always been a huge fan, and I can't thank you enough for talking and being, you know, who you are, and making my life more joyful by watching you.
That's wonderful.
Very
That's
true.
A wonderful
very
thing
true.
to say. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
this has been so fun.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, I did. I had lots of fun. You guys are great.
Good. Do you have?
And I can really feel what you are saying to me. I can feel it from you. Yeah. You're not just saying it.
No, I don't. I usually don't just say things. Well.
Depending on the circumstance.
I do have a 10-year-old son. We'll put it that way. Yeah, no. Anyway, thanks, Caine.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Dirtier than you are, your music.